Category 5 Hurricane Beryl continues gaining strength on its way to Jamaica after leaving a trail of destruction in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Palestine, the Zionist occupation army orders a new exodus of Khan Yunis residents after days of continuous siege. In India, authorities report nearly 100 people dead and many more injured after a stampede at a religious gathering of thousands of people. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. As Hurricane Beryl, now a Category 5 hurricane, ravages several Caribbean countries, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, blamed rich countries for their unwillingness to address climate change. The regional leader has called on Western countries to honor their commitments to tackle the effects of global warming. The Premier warned that the climate issue has disappeared from the electoral agendas of Europe and the United States because, in his opinion, it's not an issue that would generate votes for them. He stressed that the main emitters of greenhouse gases talk a big deal but do little in practice. On the other hand, Gonsalves addressed the devastation caused by the meteorological event on the island and assured the population of the country will rebuild and go back to normal.
Tomorrow we get up, and we get up with the conviction and the commitment to rebuild our individual lives and our families' lives, and to rebuild our country, to recover.
As Hurricane Beryl leaves the island, locals in St. Vincent and the Grenadines described the powerful storm as unprecedented.
Tell you is I'm not used to this kind of weather. This is actually the strongest storm that we've had come through St. Vincent in my lifetime. And I hope that I don't have another one. And to be fair, this wasn't even a direct hit. The eye of the storm was closer down to Carriacou and Grenada. We basically got the northeastern quadrant where we got loads of wind and rain and stuff. So I shudder to think what it would be like if we actually had a direct hit.
Hurricane Beryl strengthens on its way to Jamaica after passing over Grenada, where authorities reported one person killed. Beryl is now a potentially catastrophic Category 5 storm. Experts warn that this first hurricane of the season has worrisome records, evidencing the serious effects of climate change. Beryl, which formed on Saturday night, intensified rapidly on Sunday to a Category 4, is now the earliest storm of this scale on record in the Atlantic. Scientists explain that it is surprising that it took Beryl less than 72 hours to go from tropical depression to a Category 5 hurricane.
Well, we were more or less expecting it, because 5-meter waves were expected, but nevertheless, this is the first time, even during a cyclone, that we've seen the sea as rough as this. It's really the first time this has happened in St. Louis.
In the end, Beryl washed everything away, as you can see, and it will take several days to get everything back in order, especially at the start of the summer holidays.
On Venezuela's coast, fishermen and locals in Cumana are preparing for the arrival of Hurricane Beryl.
Fishermen are already alert. Many of them have already stopped their boats, as you can see. Others are mooring them.
All in all, there is always fishing. Storms have always been part of the job, and you have your own fishing skills. And sometimes you go out fishing in the middle of storms and can be successful. And other times we have had to respect nature.
In Grenada, the Government Information Service issued a press briefing with Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell as Hurricane Beryl moves away from the country. Prime Minister sadly announced 2 deaths so far, while the recovery phase is ongoing.
The situation is grim. There is no power. There's almost complete destruction of homes and buildings on the island. The roads are not passable, and in many instances they're cut off because of the large quantity of debris strewn all over the streets. and obviously the danger posed by down power lines. Minister Andrews has tentatively reported at least 2 deaths as a result of the passage of Hurricane Beryl. The possibility that there may be more fatalities remains a grim reality, as movement is still highly restricted because of the fact that the gas stations are also completely destroyed. It is difficult to get fuel to even the heavy equipment operators for them to begin any clearing of the roadway. So mobility on the island itself is heavily restricted. The Met Office still has in place a marine advisory against small craft. And so although we had planned at 6 a.m. for both Coast Guard craft to depart to Carriacou, we have not been able to do so as yet because of that marine advisory.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Those stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Haitian government, with the support of law enforcement officials, regained control of the Interior Ministry in Port-au-Prince. Prime Minister Gary Conille issued the security measures aimed at recovering control of the territorial communities. The Prime Minister reported that the actions took place in the presence of a magistrate. Conille assured that they are working to start damage assessment and repairs necessary to restore the activities at the ministry with suitable conditions for its functioning. The illegal U.S. blockade against Cuba also affects the United Nations performance in that country. According to the testimony of the UN resident coordinator in Cuba, Francis Copichon, the aggressive U.S. policy against the country makes the acquisition of supplies more expensive and prevents regular contracting and banking operations. The UN program on Cuba prepares a briefing every year for the Secretary General Antonio Guterres. For its construction, the mission has conducted a series of visits and meetings where the progress of many of the initiatives is evident against all odds thanks to the country's commitment.
The rising cost of inputs, restrictions on suppliers to which we have access, restrictions on financial systems that we cannot access because of U.S. financial restrictions, huge challenges in terms of access to information and communication technologies. All these areas have an impact on the operations of the UN system, but obviously the issue of access to development funding is one of the major barriers created by external sanctions.
Pedro Pierluisi, governor of Puerto Rico, announced on Monday the call for a new referendum on the political status of the island to be held on November 5th, coinciding with the general elections. In his remarks, Pierluisi stressed the importance of Puerto Rico continuing to exert pressure and reiterating its right to self-determination to be a free country that does not obey U.S. federal laws. This new referendum represents a crucial step on the road to resolving Puerto Rico's political status, an issue that has generated debate and discussion for decades. With the date set for November 5th, Puerto Rican citizens are expected to actively participate in this important consultation that will define the political future of the island. The judiciary of Peru ordered the immediate reinstatement of magistrates Aldo Vasquez and Ines Tello as members of the National Board of Justice. The first constitutional chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice of Lima declared both magistrates' impunity requests as being substantially founded. It ordered that they be immediately reinstated in their positions as members of the National Board of Justice. The resolution was disclosed on Monday, 4 months after the Congress disqualified them from public office for 10 years. According to the court, the resolutions that declare the disqualification of the two magistrates are inapplicable. Bolivia rejected the Argentinian government statement that described the failed coup attempt against President Luis Arce Catacora as a false accusation. The tension between Buenos Aires and La Paz escalated on Monday after the Bolivian foreign ministry described as unfriendly and reckless the Argentinian government statement. The ministry condemned President Javier Milei's remarks about the failed coup, while the Bolivian minister for the presidency, Maria Nela Prada, informed that President Luis Arce had summoned his ambassador in Buenos Aires for consultations.
We informed the Bolivian people and the international community that the government of the plurinational state of Bolivia has decided to summon the newly appointed ambassador of the Republic of Argentina in our country to express our energetic rejection of the statements made by the Office of the President of the Republic of Argentina, Javier Milei. Likewise, our ambassador of the plurinational state of Bolivia in Argentina, Ramiro Capia, was summoned in consultation to be present at the seat of government.
The Israeli occupation army has been besieging thousands of civilians in Han Yunis for several days while they order a new exodus of its residents. In this sense, the Zionist government of Tel Aviv resumed a new wave of forced displacement of the residents of Gaza towards the central and western areas of that region, including the area of Al-Mawasi, despite it being one of the most bombed areas. In this regard, recent reports from the United Nations highlighted that in the last few days, about 84,000 people have been displaced in the Gaza Strip following the new escalation of bombardments. Israel's genocidal operation in Gaza continues, aggravated by the threat of an imminent famine and the continued obstruction of humanitarian aid by the Zionist forces.
Our lives are like this. We and our children do not sleep. For me, I have been displaced here for 9 months, and every couple of days we rescue wounded and retrieve bodies. This is our daily routine.
Following Israel's evacuation order for areas of Han Yunis, doctors have been forced to leave Gaza's European hospital, one of the last functioning medical facilities in the city. In this context, the health center medical staff denounced that the order puts patients and displaced Palestinians in grave danger since mobilizing them is extremely difficult due to the long-term nature of their injuries and the high cost of transportation and lack of fuel. It is worth noting that according to the enclave's health ministry, at least 37,925 people have been killed and 87,141 wounded as a result of Israeli attacks on Gaza since last October.
The situation is self-explanatory, as you can see. Unfortunately, yesterday, like the rest of other areas, we were instructed to evacuate the hospital. So people began to leave, but a few patients remained because they were unable to evacuate without assistance, and the ambulance was also unable to transport them because we were busy yesterday, until 1 a.m., moving equipment to preserve them so that they don't get damaged like in other hospitals.
We now have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly, share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In northern India on Tuesday, authorities reported nearly 100 people dead and many more injured after a stampede at a religious gathering of thousands of people. The stampede occurred as a fierce dust storm sparked panic as people were leaving. Health officials informed that more than 150 people were admitted to hospitals after the crash in a village in Hathras district of Uttar Pradesh state, adding that the death toll could still rise. Most of the victims are reported to be women. Initial reports suggested that over 15,000 people had gathered for the event, which had a permission to host about 5,000. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced compensation of $2,400 to the next of kin of those who died and $600 to those injured in the tragic incident. Also on Tuesday, anti-government protests broke out in the main cities of Kenya and were met with strong police repression. In this sense, social activists denounced that demonstrations in Nairobi and other cities of the country were repressed by the police with tear gas. The mobilization seeks to denounce the economic measures of their government and demand the resignation of President William Ruto, whom they accuse of corruption. On the other hand, according to the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, the number of deaths since the beginning of the demonstrations is 39, a figure denied by President Ruto, who recognized only 19 deaths in clashes with police.
As you can see around town, so many businesses are closed due to the current situation ongoing, and we are here to claim our rights. We don't have jobs. Most of us are graduates. We don't have jobs currently, so we are requesting our president, please just consider our needs, please.
The ongoing protests, they should continue until the government can do what the Laya or the Wajikos are talking about, because the claims are genuine. Whatever the youth are saying are genuine, it's genuine.
Okay.
On Tuesday, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban arrived in Kiev for his first visit to the country since the beginning of the conflict. Orban recently assumed the 6-month presidency of the European Union Council and in that capacity organized the visit. The office of the Ukrainian presidency informed that the agenda includes a meeting between the Hungarian Prime Minister and President Volodymyr Zelensky. The main topic of the talks will be the peace in Europe and how to achieve it, as well as bilateral relations between the two nations. Iran concluded the first electoral debate between the candidates who reached the second stage of the presidential elections, Masoud Pezeshkian and Saeed Jalili, who focused on political and cultural issues. During the activity, both candidates expressed their opinions regarding economic issues, in which they discussed the development of the country at the international level. Likewise, Pezeshkian and Jalili talked about the low participation of citizens during the first round of elections. Meanwhile, candidate Jalili highlighted the participation of women during the electoral process and indicated that a government plan should also be drawn for them. The Constitutional Council of Iran confirmed on June 30th the results of the June 28th presidential elections, authorizing the candidates to begin campaigning for the second round of the election on July 5th. The spokesman for the Council of Guardians of the Islamic Republic, Hadid Zahan Nassif, reported that after the presentation of the election results, none of the presidential contenders filed complaints with the Constitutional Council. He also indicated that more than 24 million people participated in the elections to choose a new Iranian president following the death of Ebrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash last May 19th.
Who never ever fails to deliver.
On Friday, Spain and Germany, two of the greatest teams in world football, will meet in the quarterfinals of UEFA Euro 2024 in a match that many are predicting to be an early final. Here, Spanish forward Mikel Oyarzabal talks about the upcoming game.
I think Germany are a great team. You don't need me to tell you that. They started the tournament very strongly, and I think it's going to be a very tough game. But, as I said before, we believe in ourselves and we're calm. We believe we are capable. We're not letting ourselves relax, but we're absolutely confident in what we're doing.
And on the Copa America 2024, the United States, by virtue of its loss to Uruguay, was eliminated in the third day of Group C. The Charrúas achieved a perfect score after winning all 3 matches of the first round, and the U.S. was eliminated by their defeat and Panama's win over Bolivia. Group C ended with Uruguay as the absolute leader with 3 wins and 9 points, followed by Panama with 6. Meanwhile, the United States third with 3 points, and Bolivia last with no points, eliminated. In this stage, the South Americans will play against the second of Group D, Brazil, who will face today, the leader Colombia, in the most interesting match of the initial phase. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.